Hello, and I'm very sorry not to be with you today, not least because I know this is taking place in Ludlow, a town that I am very fond of, and I'm conscious that it is also a centre of a really important food economy, and so I'm sure you'll be having an excellent lunch today, which I'm sorry to miss. This government believes that market towns have a critical role to play for our national economy and particularly for our rural economy. Our ministerial team here in DEFRA all come from rural areas, and I'm lucky enough to be one of them that represents a market town. And I really want to say this very important message to you today, and that is to value the work that Action for Market Towns does in providing leadership and in providing advice and networking of best practice across the country. It's never been more important, the work that they're doing, and I really do applaud you for taking part in this today. We think that market towns are absolutely vital drivers of enterprise. Rural areas already make a significant contribution to the national economy. An estimated £200 billion, that's 19% of national gross value added, is generated in our rural economy. Small towns are key drivers of rural economic activity. They're the second largest provider in jobs and businesses after cities, employing over 750,000 people. Nationally, this equates to 21% of national businesses and 17% of employment. And that really matters in the national context. But we believe there's an even greater potential to increase the contributions they make in a sustainable way. I want to see vibrant rural economies which are diverse, resilient and exemplars of the potential for green growth, and realise a much higher return on the value of significant reserves of natural capital which rural areas contain. We also want to make sure that they are connected internally and also to a wider national and international market, and have a growing number of high-tech and creative knowledge-based enterprises. And with the rollout of broadband across rural communities, we can make sure that market towns have a renaissance in being the hubs for industries which hitherto perhaps haven't developed in the way they have in rural areas, such as creative industries. And I think there's huge potential here for this kind of work. This is why it's so important that DEFRA is leading on the Rural Economy Growth Review, one of 5 reviews taking place and being undertaken as the second phase of the Growth Review. The review is focusing on sustainable development in its widest sense. We want to enable rural businesses to innovate and thrive and realise the value of natural capital. Understanding the experiences of existing rural businesses and enterprise in everything they do, and really recognising the opportunities for growth, but also understanding the frustrations we know they can experience, is vitally important to that process. The review is underway. It will be announced in November as part of the government's autumn statement. So this conference, this gathering, is at a really vital time. The important role that small towns play as service hubs, especially for adjacent villages, cannot be understated. Market towns, like all rural areas, need to continually evolve to respond to the changes happening around them. So through the Localism Bill, we're creating new policies that can enable you to act responsively and flexibly. The community right to challenge and right to buy puts communities back in control of service provision and retaining community ownership of assets. If you can see a better way of delivering local services, then you'll have the opportunity to bring your proposals to your local council and require them to give proper consideration. And this is a hugely important change, and one that I hope will be grasped. I and my ministerial colleagues believe there is a rural dimension to virtually everything that government does. There's a sort of policy jargon that surrounds the whole concept of rural proofing. But we think it's really important. We think there's good examples of rural proofing, but there are too many examples where people are not considering the impact of policy on rural areas. So we want to drive this forward, and we are doing so, making changes. The way we in DEFRA make sure that other departments of government are doing their bit to make sure new policies don't impact in an adverse sense on rural communities. But we also want to build on the good work we know is happening in local authorities, amongst others, and organisations that are holding local authorities and government to account on rural proofing is really important. So what's happening in market towns is vital that it connects to this whole process. I'm really sorry I can't be with you in person today, but I welcome the attention that through this year's annual convention you'll be placing on localism and driving enterprise. There are fundamental policy areas that are of concern to us here in DEFRA, but also to the many millions of people who live in rural areas and value their local market town. I think there is a chance that if we all combine and put our collective endeavour towards supporting what happens in the best market towns and making sure that that rolls out to other areas too, we can help assist a real renaissance in the value we put for these very special communities, and I do applaud what you're doing today. Thank you.